like that. So
Mm.
we really built our lifestyle blueprint, which I think is so important for like anyone
Mm.
to really think
Awesome.
about when you're deciding, what do I want to do with my life? I don't know. Well,
Mhm.
what do you want to get out of your life? Not what do you want to do, what job? Because that's
Mhm.
like the most loaded question for a college kid. It's like, you're
Mm.
17,
Mm.
sign up all these loans and like good luck with your life, you know?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
what do you actually want to do? So we built a blueprint and essentially
Great.
wrote out like, what are our current skill sets that we know we have? I know I am fantastic at building and documenting systems that allows businesses to scale because I did that for my veterinary practices. And then they were working on lead generation, something that would normally take them, I believe she said 10 hours. We're gonna have to check this. There's a video testimonial on my sales page with her saying this.
Okay.
10 hours, and they reduced it to less than an hour
Wow.
with their process. And she was telling me about it because I
Amazing.
was asking her for her feedback. And she was like, I told my boss, Corey, and he was like, whoa. Because, like, wouldn't you say, well, holy crap, you just saved how many hours of time? What are you gonna do?
Awesome.
I'm speaking from
Yeah.
this from real experience too. I worked with a company. His team member, who is his head of operations, essentially his right hand woman, he had her go through the course. I spoke to the business owner at first, and I could tell his mind was like a little somewhere else sometimes because there's constantly things going on and things to manage. She went through the course, and first of all, it empowered her as an employee. It gave her the
Mm.
confidence,
Nice.
it gave her excitement, it gave her responsibility in a new capacity too. So she's like,
Mhm.
wow, this is so cool because everyone then benefits.
All right. Great. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us for another episode of Define Your Purpose. And purpose is the birthplace of ideas. And I've been looking forward to someone with a lot of experience with that. She's the CEO of her own company and an advocate for women in business, longtime entrepreneur and podcast host. And um, I want everyone to welcome Kim Coates. Thanks for joining me today, Kim.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this as well.
Great, great. Well, um, I know you grew up kind of in the Scottsdale area. Is that right?
I
How did things?
actually grew up in the Midwest.
Okay, all right.
Everyone always calls me out for my vowels. They're like, they hear the way I say certain things and they're like, oh, you're from like Chicago area or something, right? I'm like, how do people
Okay.
know every single time? Yeah, I grew up in Indiana. It was like 30
Okay.
minutes from Chicago, and it wasn't until it started snowing in September, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm old enough to leave this state now. So then I drove to Arizona, took a road trip, and then never really came back. Of course, I visit. I have a dad there, and I have an older sister there, but
Mhm.
almost like all of my family has slowly flocked over to Arizona over the years.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think you've kind of had a lot of experience with following your purpose in life. It seems like you've had to reinvent yourself a couple times. So maybe you could talk about your first inspiration.
Yeah. That's like such a loaded conversation topic, but that's what the podcast is for, right?
Yeah,
Finding,
yeah.
identifying your purpose. Really, like ever since I was a little kid, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life. Like no question about it. It was like
Mhm.
this is the only path I want. And I knew
Mhm.
it had to do with animals. In short, fast forward, I graduated high school. I found one college. I didn't even look at other colleges. I was like, oh, veterinary school, this is what I want. I
Mm.
went out, I graduated in 18 months with an associate's degree in veterinary medicine. I worked as a veterinary technician for about 10 years
Mm.
and got
Mm.
super burnt out.
Mm.
you know,
Mm.
with a degree and license, I was making about $15 an hour. And we know that's not a ton these days. So I was
Yeah.
really living just paycheck to paycheck, but I didn't know there was any other way, is really what it came down to. And like society tells you, like, you have to get a job, you do this job, you have to build up for retirement. Like, I was just following what I thought was right. Um,
Yeah.
until, like I was joking with you earlier, not on recording, it started snowing in Indiana in 2015, I think it was in September, or 2014, and I was like, "Oh my god, I gotta get out of here." I remembered I was old enough to leave, and after working, 12-hour shifts, I was working 3 PM to 3 AM, 4 or 5 days a week, and when you put down, like, 12 to 15 animals a day, it's really emotionally
Yeah.
exhausting. It's super impactful. I love
Wow.
everything there is about it. I don't regret it for a second. Like you said, it was just like a chapter in my life. I made an impact a certain way, and then everything changed.
Right.
um,
Mm.
I met this wonderful guy playing sand volleyball in Arizona because I didn't know anyone, and so I found this magical thing called meetup.com, which they have a meetup group for
Mm.
just about anything. And
Mm.
I really hit it off with him, and he introduced me to this foreign word called entrepreneurship, something I've never heard of before.
Mm.
Don't teach you that in high school or any school in Indiana, I can tell you
Right.
that. So what happened is, I had major, like, life-saving surgery. I My
Mm.
heart was flat is really what it comes down to. You've
Wow.
probably seen it before, like, where the chest is, like, sucked in a little bit.
Mhm.
I was born with that, and
Mm.
I didn't know
Okay.
there was an issue other than, like, I would black out and fall asleep at the wheel and have full out dreams while I was driving, and then wake up and be like, "Oh, where am I?" Like, thank God I have no idea how I'd never got into an accident, but, like, thank you, universe. So after I moved to Arizona, they were like, "You need to get into surgery, like, yesterday." So I
Mm.
had surgery, they fixed my chest because as your ribs suck in, it smashes your heart and it has nowhere to go, so I wasn't getting enough oxygen. I was tired and
Wow.
exhausted all the time.
Mm.
So finally, once they fixed me, they put 2 steel bars in my chest, which was
Mm.
great. I could breathe, I have, like, life again, but working in the vet field and, like, getting soccer punched in the chest by a dog was not
Mm.
great.
Yeah.
So, and Isaac saw I would come home every day, like, in pain and exhausted from just
Mm.
dealing with that, and so he surprised me one day. I came home and he had a website created for me that was all about pet sitting, and that was, like, my first taste of
Wow.
entrepreneurship, which was wonderful. I was
Mm.
like, "What is this?" And he's like, "Your new job, like, your new business that you own yourself." So, I was working as a pet sitter, and I was also working for Purina at the time, like, selling food and educating people about, pet food.
Mm.
So, with that, though, um it was a lot of work at that point in time, but the craziest thing about it was that I was making more money pet sitting than I've ever made as a veterinary technician with a degree and a license. It
Mm.
was, like, such a
Wow.
shake. It was like,
Yeah.
"What the hell?" Um,
What can I do
so
about this?
yeah, it just made me think. It made me think in
Mm.
different ways, like, there's gotta
Mm.
be something I'm missing here, or like, wow, I have so many more
Mm.
opportunities than I realized, and there's so much more abundance in the world. So,
Mm.
fast forward
Yeah.
from that, Isaac and I were really looking at, well, if I can do this pet sitting thing and I'm making more money than I was in the vet field, what happens if we start our own business together? So this is like the juicy part of finding my purpose in life. It's really like our purpose in being together and impacting the world in different ways. But how do
Mm.
we start a business? I know nothing about business. I mean, I can pet sit, I know pet things.
Right.
He actually had a background in consulting and coaching, and he's done Google things before,
Mm.
SEO,
Mhm.
before people even knew what like local SEO was and things like that. So
Mm.
we really
Mm.
built our lifestyle blueprint, which I think is so important for like
Mm.
anyone to really think
Awesome.
about when you're deciding, what do I want to do with my life? I don't know. Well,
Mhm.
what do you want to get out of your life? Not what do you want to do, what job? Because that's like
Mhm.
the most loaded question for a college kid. It's like, you're
Mhm.
17,
Mhm.
sign off all these loans and like good luck with your life, you know?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
what do you actually want to do? So we built a blueprint and essentially
Great.
wrote out like what are our current skill sets that we know we have. I know I am fantastic at building and documenting systems that allows businesses to scale because I did that for my veterinary practices. And then they
Mm.
turned to multiple locations and had emergency hours. And then people stopped calling me to be like, Kim, what do we do? Because I wrote a manual. I wrote
Mm.
all the
Mm.
troubleshooting, everything. So that was my skill set really, and like
Yeah.
the people aspect. I love talking to people and helping people. And Isaac was really good at the business sense of things. He went to business college at Buffalo, you know,
Mm.
so he
Okay.
had a background, and we kind of mushed those together. And now we looked at okay, like what do we want to get out of life? We want to travel. We want to have time freedom where we can actually decide like I want to get up and go and do this. But, obviously we need to look at how do we create a business that allows us to do what we want and live life the way we want. So then, we essentially worked backwards. We have our
Mm.
blueprint, we know what we're good
Mhm.
at, and then we looked at like what businesses are somewhat recession proof. If we build a
Mm.
business, what is something that's not going to just up and disappear tomorrow? Too many entrepreneurs sometimes get distracted
Mm.
by like, "Ooh, this is shiny," or, "Oh, let me try that trend." And then the trend is
Mhm.
over, it's over. So we looked at
Right.
marketing, because Isaac had a background in that as well. And my ability to take the systems out of his brain and put it down on paper and make videos from it and all the how-to guides is
Mm.
really what helped us
Nice.
the lifestyle that we have now. So now we have a full
Mm.
team beneath us. We started our business LocalFi, SEO digital marketing agency. We started that in 2018, and our first big road trip was actually 2017, which I know I'm going out of order here, but in 2017 we took a 3-month road trip, and then we were like, we need to make money to
Mm.
be able to like sustain this kind of lifestyle because that 3-month
Mm.
road trip was
I see.
epic. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
after 2018, I mean, it was really hard to bootstrap your own business from nothing, but we figured it out. There's an insane amount
Mm.
of resources between people and books and courses and everything. So we
Mm.
figured it out. We built a team, we systematized it, we plugged the right people in the right seats, and then fast
Awesome.
forward to today. It's 2025 now. LocalFi is
Here
still
we
going
are.
strong, and we have a ton of happy
Mm.
clients, very low turnover in both clients of our LocalFi family and our team. Like, the culture is amazing,
Wow.
but most
So
importantly, even, we're able to make a bigger impact than I was as a simple vet tech, helping a
mm.
couple animals versus running an entire company with the love of my life, not to be cheesy or anything, but and also like we're helping these local businesses. And when I help one local business,
Mm.
how many people
Yeah.
does that one restaurant serve? How many people does
Right.
that one plumber serve? And
Mhm.
with the profits that we make, we reinvest it into sustainable initiatives. So we
Right.
donated our services to a
Awesome.
nonprofit organization called One Tree Planted. If you
Mm.
haven't heard of them, $1 equals planting one tree. And what I love about them is
Mhm.
they plant trees all over the world where they're needed the most.
Mm.
So we donate our profits every month to them too.
That's
But
great.
we also helped them like establish the legitimacy of their online presence, which was cool.
Mm.
Because when we worked with them, years ago, they were planting, I think it was like 5 or 10 million trees. And then I haven't checked this year, but I know in 2023 they planted 52 million, which
Wow.
is huge.
They got
So talk
local pride, huh?
Oh, it's just incredible. It's super
That's
cool.
great.
And now we
Wow.
travel 6 months out of the year.
Right.
We built a travel brand, full time to travel time. We are avid road
Wow.
trippers. We don't live out of
Mhm.
our car, nor we're not trust fund babies, no. Like those are the two main questions we usually get. But we have done 40 of the 63 national parks.
Mm.
We're about to drive to
Great.
Alaska through Canada from Arizona, which sounds like
Okay.
a lot, but it has 8 national parks, and we spent 3 months in Europe last year. Like,
Mm.
What we've been able to
Mm.
accomplish by building our business, systematizing it, most importantly, and
Mm.
then having like real time freedom. And I'm only in my 30s, like he's in his 30s, you know, when we go traveling, most of the people we meet are like 60-plus-year-olds because they're either empty nesters or they're retirees. Because again, like
Mhm.
society has kind of taught us you need to have a job, you need to have security and be
Right.
safe. Like, I can't tell you how much my family like freaked out when they were like, "You're leaving your veterinary technician job where you have a
Mm.
degree and a license."
Right.
I was like, "I'm happier, I make more money, and I'm healthier. Is there anything to complain about here?" So, that is my scoop in a nutshell.
Wow. That's awesome. That's a really great story. So
Thanks.
did you have to bootstrap a lot when you're starting your business from you had to put a lot of your job money into it, your hard-earned sweat equity into it and
More time than anything else, 'cause
Mm,
that is
okay.
actually something to consider and look at too, like, when you're building a business, how
Mhm.
much expenses and things like that, like, especially if you have a physical location, obviously there's overhead.
Mhm.
When you work remotely and have a digital marketing company, there are less expenses, but you were right, you know, we needed softwares, we did invest in ourselves even more, like, than the business at first because we have to learn what you don't know, or find the mentors, do the
Mm, mhm,
networking between
mhm,
time and money. But you're completely right. We bootstrapped everything. We didn't take any outside money or funding or
mm.
anything. And we've continued to grow every single year, which is amazing.
How long did you wait before you hired other people? I mean,
I think it
people
was
talk
in the
about scaling all the
first.
time and how it's important.
Yeah, I mean, the first 3 months were super brutal. I won't sugarcoat
Mm,
that. You know,
okay.
like, starting
Yeah.
a business when I have no experience and Isaac and I are figuring out how do we work together,
Mm,
as a couple, which has its own thing as well, and we
mm,
do wonderfully
mm,
together now, but I think it was probably somewhere between, like, month 4 and 6 that we hired our first
okay.
person. Her name is Irina, she was
Mm,
wonderful, and she was our graphic designer. At some point, you know, as an entrepreneur, I hope most people realize, but Isaac's like, I'm not a graphic designer. Why do I keep creating all these graphics? We should hire
mm,
someone. I was like, that's great. And then again, once I got
mm,
a taste of like, wow, we can create a system and Irina can follow this, or better yet, our
mm,
employee can help us build the systems because she's the one with the knowledge. Why am I building a system about graphic design if somebody who's great at graphic design can build it
mm.
and then help
Yeah,
other people in it, you know?
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's really
That's
when it
great.
took off. Once we hired her, then we ended up hiring more people. If we didn't have the systems, though, we
Mhm,
wouldn't be able to hire people. I mean, we did in the
mm,
beginning, right? That's when you figure out how badly you need systems, is when you're like,
mm,
why am
mhm,
I having to teach this again? Or, why don't they know how to do this? Like all those things you keep questioning and why you're not scaling. Because we've, even
mhm,
to this day, Carl, like we have learned if our team consistently asks us the same question over and over again, or like, how do I do this? Or what would you recommend I say to this client? That is like a light bulb that we need to have a training
yeah,
lesson on that or a system on that. And then
right.
they start asking and they have the
Mm,
knowledge. It's like a really good indicator of what you need.
mm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Just kind of putting the pieces together then.
Yeah, definitely.
So you must have started documenting everything right away, I guess. You kind of because
Pretty
I mean
soon.
that's what isn't that what your course is about? You have coming up is about
Yes.
building systems.
Thank you. Yes, I'm so, so excited about this because now I get to teach people the juicy information that's been in my brain just naturally, which is awesome. I'm glad this is like a natural
Awesome. Yeah,
gift that I've
no.
been given. But my course that I just launched is called Systems Equals Freedom because
Mm,
it does. Like I'm living proof of that, and I know many people are who I've met too. But the course is really designed for busy entrepreneurs who are either too busy working in their business, like it's a job
mhm,
instead of working on the
mhm.
business and growing and scaling it,
Right.
or maybe they're just busy and
Mhm,
they don't ever feel like they have enough time to do the things that they actually want to do, whether it is
Mm.
working on the business, but maybe it's something simple like, I wish I had more time to spend with my family. I wish I had more time to spend with my little kids who are growing up and I'm missing that. I wish I
Yeah.
had more time to travel.
Mm.
How many times have you heard that one? Or
Mhm.
even worse, some people are like, oh, I'll get to Greece someday. Like, oh, the word someday. But, like,
Yeah.
I wanna help people live their lives now, and,
Mm.
my
Yeah.
true purpose in helping people, that's what this course is. The Systems
Mm.
Equals Freedom
Great.
course, it's not like another I've taken courses, sorry. It's not like another boring course when you sit there and just listen to someone talk the whole time. This is
Mm.
a very interactive course, there's graphics popping out of the screen, like, engaging you. There's even homework things that's like, download this worksheet, fill this out. I'll tell you, if you don't actually take action on the things that I do recommend, obviously, like anything, you won't see as great of results, but I
Mhm.
walk people step by step through it. And the cool thing about the course is although there are quite a few lessons and about 8 modules, it's less than 2 hours long. That's it. Like, can you
Wow.
sacrifice two
Mm.
hours of your time for a
Yeah.
lifetime of more time freedom to save at least like 10 hours a week? I
Yeah.
mean,
Sounds intense.
it's yeah, and you get lifetime access too. So one thing I like about courses too
Awesome.
is when you get the lifetime access, then I take this systems course, and then maybe like 6 months from now or next year, I'm like, I really feel like I need a refresher on that lesson about block scheduling because I've kind of fallen off the rocker. We all fall off. We learn things and then we're like, dang it, I'm pretty sure I learned that already. Great, you have lifetime access. Just go back and watch that lesson again, you know?
Right. Sure.
So I'm very, very excited about it. And thank you for bringing it up. And for anyone listening to this podcast or seeing our beautiful faces, Karl's going to include a link to you guys specially. I'm giving you guys 70% off, which is bonkers. I'm not
Mm.
sure why I'm doing it, but I just really appreciate you, Karl,
Awesome.
and I really wanna be able to provide, like, awesome value to the people that, are listening because I know you do a lot of impactful work yourself, and it's really just about helping
Yeah.
people, is really what it
Yeah.
comes down to. So, normally it's $1,000, with 70% off, I think that's at, like, 297, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Crazy.
yeah, I'll include that link for you.
Great. Great. That is great. So how do you, you came out of the regular 9 to 5 type of world and went straight into being an entrepreneur without much previous or education in it, really. I mean, how, I think a lot of people get stuck kind of at the point where a job leaves off and
Right.
they think that they need to trade their time for money as an entrepreneur. And and how do you know when you need to start scaling, and how does one um what was kind of your breaking point when you were like, all right, I'm just working a job again, how what do
Yeah.
I do now?
Honestly, that's such a great question because that's probably, like, the number one fear most people have, I would guess, because I had that fear too, like, "Oh my
Mm.
god, how do I go from a full-time job to, like, working for myself? What? What do I do about healthcare? What do I do about this and that?" There's so many
Mhm.
unknowns, it's
Yeah.
scary. But
Yeah.
I'll say, like, I just like I shared with you before, like, I'm very open, honest, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's totally tough, and you do have to commit the time and dedication into really making that happen.
Mhm.
A couple core books really helped me and kinda, like, changed my life, changed my world. Um, One of them was The Magic of Thinking Big. Because it's exactly what it says. It really, like, got my brain to think differently, but in very simplistic terms. It's an easy to read book. Another one is Think and Grow Rich, which everyone has
Mhm.
heard of, I'm
Yeah.
sure, Napoleon
Yeah.
Hill, and that was really, like, the wake-up call that was like, whoa,
Mm.
if I really have like a passionate desire to do something, it'll just happen. Like everything I've ever sought out to do happens for me. And it's because I have what he calls a burning desire. Like you
Mm.
just full
Yeah.
focus go into it. And then the other one Isaac had me read actually was called The E Myth. The E Myth Revisited. It's like the worst book name, but
Mm.
stands for entrepreneur. So
Okay.
it really
Oh, I
teaches
see.
the concepts of entrepreneurship, I guess you can say. A really, really powerful book, good book. But to answer your question, the non-sugarcoating part is you can't just quit your well, you probably could. From my experience, you can't just quit your 9 to 5 and be like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur today. You don't
Mhm.
know what you don't know. There has to be a transition period, right? So for me, like what you didn't see or maybe didn't hear is that I was working like 40 to 60-hour work weeks for a short period of time, yeah, but I was balancing working for Purina while also figuring out how to run a business with Isaac. So
Mm.
I would work
Mhm.
my
Mhm.
full-time job and then come home and we'd go straight into building LocalFi. What's the logo look like? What do we need? How do we start an LLC? Do we need a DBA and a trade name? Like, do we need business insurance? Like just researching, doing all
Mm.
the things that we need to, finding the mentors, networking, building relationships with people, and also looking
Mhm.
at our previous relationships. Is there anyone within our current network who has this
Mhm.
experience?
Yeah.
Like if I was getting into real estate, I would reach out to one of my uncles because he owns multiple properties,
Mm.
like things
Sure.
like that too. But in terms of the scaling aspect of it, it's also about building your vision
Mhm.
and building your measurables. So after reading The E-Myth, the next best book to read is called Traction by Gino Wickman because it actually
Mm.
puts concepts you learn into place. It's like, okay, now, yeah, you
Mm.
know these things, but here's how to actually do it. And
Mhm.
I forget the quote, but it's like, um, something about like measurable numbers are numbers that grow. If you don't measure it, how do
Mm.
you know what you're doing? There's so many
Yeah.
entrepreneurs don't know their numbers. Like if you showed up
Mhm.
to Shark Tank and you didn't know your numbers, they would eat you alive, you
Right.
know?
Sure. Yeah.
Um, so that's the thing we really looked at, like,
Mhm.
what are the core things we need to measure right now? Like, even to this day, how many years later now, Carl, we still measure. I mean, our measurables have changed a little bit, sure, but we still have a scorecard. We still
Mm.
measure, our
Mhm.
profit, our revenue, our
Mhm.
expenses, our number of clients, how many sales appointments we had this week, how many closed clients we had this week. Like, you have to keep a pulse on your business, otherwise you can't scale if you don't know what's going on, is
Mhm.
really what it comes
Right.
down to.
And then that guides your action, right? And what decides what you need to spend your time on, I guess, right? All those numbers once
Yeah.
you're aware of them.
Right, because not just tracking like your scorecard and your measurables, but also planning for your future.
Mm.
So, 90-day goals are really great to have. Like they call
Mm.
them rocks in the EOS
Mm.
system. I'm sure you know all this too. I'm just speaking your language right now, right? But 90 days, like humans have trouble thinking like a whole year in advance, let alone like 5-year, 10-year plan.
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
happened last year? What happened with the economy that just completely changed everything for people? And they're like, oh, we have to pivot, we have to change. Or if you don't pivot, you
Mhm.
don't survive, kind of thing. We saw a lot of businesses close and shut down permanently, which sucks.
Mhm.
But with 90-day goals, you can say, hey, in 3 months from now, I want to accomplish this. Well, now you can create mini goals to help you get to that 90-day goal. So now you
Yeah.
want
Mm.
to create an onboarding system is your 90-day goal. So your little goals to get there is like one, Kim is responsible for identifying or writing out what questions need to be in that form. Number two, create a form using Google Forms.
Mhm. Mhm.
Number three, have somebody test that form. Like, set yourself up with little things to help you get to the big thing. That way,
Mhm.
you don't overwhelm
Yeah.
yourself and you actually make it achievable.
Right. Yeah,
Mhm.
that is really good advice.
Yeah, it's helpful. We get
Yeah.
excited. It's not bad that we get excited and we're like,
Mhm.
this year my New Year's resolution is blah blah blah. But how are you gonna get to that blah blah blah? Like
Mhm.
we gotta
Yeah.
plan for that.
Yeah, like the excitement doesn't last.
Yeah, but it does last if you're taking little micro goals and you're like,
Mhm.
wow, I did
Right.
it. And now you're motivated and inspired again. Because the
Yeah,
thing is,
yeah.
people always think like you have to feel motivated or you have to feel inspired to take action. but that's wrong. Like, you actually have to take action first. And when you take action, then you feel motivated and then you feel inspired. And you're like, wow, I can do this. But it's terrifying to take action. So most people
Mhm.
are like, I just will wait until I feel motivated to do this. And then, like, time passes and it's still not getting done, is the thing. So take action first, even
Mhm.
if it's terrifying. Like, one of pardon me, one of Isaac and my quotes is, if you're uncomfortable, you're really living. Because when you're comfortable, it's like, oh, this is my safe place. I do my routine every single day. It's comfortable, it's safe, it feels good. But like,
Mhm.
we're climbing to the tops of mountains and doing all these very uncomfortable things. I left my comfortable 9 to 5 to start a pet sitting business. I don't know what I don't know. We started LocalFi. My whole life is uncomfortable. It's amazing. It's fantastic. It's full of like life and excitement. Like, you can probably feel it like through the audio, through the screen right now. I'm very happy and grateful. And we've worked hard to build it, but also like,
Awesome.
what you get out of life is what you put into life.
Mhm.
So go out there and be uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's where the growth happens, is outside
Yes.
your comfort zone too.
Yeah.
So, maybe you could explain a little bit more about your program, and so that's for any entrepreneur that wants help systematizing.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm glad you bring it up because this systems course, I actually think there's some secret sauce to. Well, I know there's secret sauce. What I'm saying is, the secret sauce of the course is, get your employees to take the course. You're a
Mm,
business owner, you're busy. It
mm,
literally has a word in business owner, business. You heard what I said. I butchered that, but yes, business owner. You're busy. You don't have, like, you constantly
mhm,
say you don't have time, but how do you create more time? Well, shoot, put your employee through the program, through the course,
mm,
have them gain this awesome knowledge, have them create the systems, have them teach your team how to build the systems, how to use the systems, where to find the systems, and then
mm.
just sit back and watch your business grow. I'm
Awesome.
I'm speaking from
Yeah.
this from real experience too. I worked with a company. His team member, who is his head of operations, essentially, his right hand woman, he had her go through the course. I spoke to the business owner at first, and I could tell his mind was like a little somewhere else sometimes because there's constantly things going on and things to manage. She went through the course, and first of all, it empowered her as an employee. It gave her the
Mm,
confidence,
nice.
it gave her excitement. It gave her responsibility in a new capacity too. So she's like,
Mhm,
wow, this is so cool because everyone then benefits. She is spending less time training team members now, which is saving, her time to work on other things in the business or work on growing the business. And
mhm,
now she spends less time doing that because she learned how to create a training system. Boom. And not only that, a couple other benefits, like, they had somebody who had a death in the family, and that person obviously didn't go to work that day, but they're like, oh shoot, they have a small team. The business owner had to step in and do something that he's not very familiar with. I think it was like an onboarding call or something. And he told the client, and he's like, I'm sorry, I don't normally do this. And he followed the system that his team member created. And he said it was so easy. It was perfect. It was flawless. Like, the client didn't even
nice.
notice any pain or embarrassment of like, oh, he doesn't know what he's doing. No, he knew exactly what he was doing because he followed the system. And then even bigger than that is all about the time savings, right? Not only
Mhm,
did Aileen save time, like doing the training, but she created a system. They were working on lead generation, something that would normally take them, I believe she said, 10 hours. We're gonna have to check this. There's a video testimonial on my sales page with her saying this.
okay.
10 hours, and they reduced it to less than an hour with
Wow.
their process. And she was telling me about it because I
Amazing.
was asking her for her feedback. And she was like, I told my boss, Corey, and he was like, whoa. Because, like, wouldn't you say, well, holy crap, how you just saved how many hours of time? What are you going to do with that time?
Mhm.
And she was so excited. She's like, now I'm actually like learning automation for our business. And once I learn automation, now our business will be able to scale even more. They've been able to hire more. They've been able to get more clients now. It's like, this is only one business. That's it. So whether you want to be a business owner and you go through the course yourself, or maybe you have a full team and you have one person go through it. Like, what I would recommend though is identify who in your organization, if it's not you, who would be a good like head of systems person. That might be like your operations person. Like, I'm head of operations pretty much in my company too. I like to keep pulses on everything. And I'm the systems person, but I do have a head of systems and she is fantastic. So yeah, it's really powerful stuff. And again, like after I made this course, I was like, how is it only 2 hours? But it's so impactful. It's just really exciting.
Great, great. That
Yeah.
sounds fantastic.
Hmm.
So you guys, your firm right now, your marketing company, you help you help businesses locally, but they can be any type of business, or maybe you could talk a little bit about what you guys do exactly.
Definitely. Thank you, Carl. Yes. So our company is LocalFi, Local FI, and it sounds like local, sounds like Wi-Fi. We essentially call ourselves Google Wizards. We
Mm,
help local businesses all over America essentially look and rank better on Google, on Yelp, on TripAdvisor, all the major,
mm,
local listing platforms that people find you on. What we do is essentially we found out the secret sauce to making Google happy. And when
mm.
we can make
Wow.
Google happy and trust that your business is legit, you are who you say you are online, and you do what you say you do online, then in
Mm,
return, they'll reward you by ranking higher in search results. We are specifically experts in what's called local SEO. And that simply means, even you, Carl, like I'm sure if you've used Google Maps to find a business or find a restaurant, right? Like
Yep.
we
Yep.
all have. That is local SEO. That's saying, hey,
Mm,
I'm in Tempe, Arizona currently. If I'm looking for a breakfast burrito near me, Google's not going to show me results in California. How the heck do I get that
mm,
breakfast burrito? It's going to show me results within like a 2 to 4 mile radius around where I'm currently located. So if you're
mhm,
a locally owned business, whether you are a brick and mortar, like a salon, an animal hospital, restaurant, or if you're a service based business, like a plumber, an electrician, a landscaper, asphalt paving company, you
mm,
can
mhm,
do wonderfully on Google because
mm.
the beautiful thing about what we do with local SEO is our goal is to get you in the top 3 results on Google Maps. So again,
Nice.
go onto Google right now and type in breakfast burrito near me. You'll see if you have an ad blocker on like I do, the first thing you see are 3 Google Maps results. And that
Mm,
gets about
mm,
50% of all the clicks.
mm,
And then the first website to show up, which usually isn't even a website, it's like the top 10 best breakfast burritos on Yelp. It's a local listing
mm,
platform. That only gets 12% of the clicks. And guess what? This is not paid advertising. So, what we do actually is building a long term marketing asset, which is huge. Once we
mm.
build it, we're building your foundation, and you will be able to use that and benefit from that for the entire lifespan of your business forever until you decide to close your business or sell it to someone else. Even when you do sell it to someone else, that's great benefit for the new owner. So, that's
Yeah,
local.
there's like a lot to getting listed. You don't just like fill out a form on Google, right?
No, I mean, that's one step of the pie,
Mhm,
but yeah, there is a lot to it in convincing Google and finding the right keywords. What is the language
mm,
your
mhm,
prospects are using? And
mhm,
that's only local SEO. That's only the Google Maps results and things like that.
right,
The other piece of it, which does work like synergistically with the local SEO, is your website. Everyone
yeah,
always thinks
mhm,
I need a gorgeous, expensive, fancy website and I'll get so many clients. And that's, I don't know where that thought came from, but that's not a good thought.
Mm.
It's like people call us and they're prospects and they're like, yeah, I want to like spend money on a website. And we're the honest people who are like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. Like, I'd rather make our clients money and not take their money.
Right.
With local SEO, you're driving organic traffic. How many people use Google? You see results within 3 to 4 months. You see more revenue, you see better
Mm.
ranking, those kinds of things. Whereas website SEO and ranking your website on the first page of Google, shoot, that takes 6 months, maybe. Definitely
Mm.
like more like a
Right.
year. That takes
Mhm.
a lot more work. So what we typically recommend is, you know, invest in the local SEO first because that makes you money faster
Mm.
and it's like a visual representation of your business. If somebody hears
Yeah.
about you, they're going to Google you. Even if you spend
Mm.
money on
Mhm.
radio or billboards or, paid ads, even if
Mhm.
you, Carl, are like, Kim, check out this restaurant. I trust you, you're my good friend, whatever, but I'm still gonna Google it and be like, was Carl really honest? Oh God, why does it have a 1.2 star rating? Carl, like, we're just in the culture of we research, we use the internet.
Mhm.
So
Right.
we usually say do local SEO first, make money, then reinvest what
Mm.
you're making into, fleshing out or improving your website. And then like look at the website SEO kind of thing. So we can build websites. We build
Mm.
big websites sometimes too, even our own
Mhm.
website. We've built a painter's website in Pennsylvania. It's like 25 pages, I think it is. So we
Mm.
have quite a lot of experience
Mhm.
in the SEO realm, and clearly we've been successful since we've been around and keep growing every year. And majority of our clients, like I shared with you, stay with us like 3, 4, 5 years and they're still with us for a reason because we do great work. We want to do great work. And part of our, even before you become a client of the LocalFi family, we always have a discovery call first. It's free, of course, but we're unique in the fact that we actually like to run the numbers first.
Mm.
Nobody has that. It's
Okay.
like the one of the most important things. If I
Mm.
don't understand your expectations of me and you don't understand my expectations of you, how can we have a good relationship together? It's like
Yeah.
getting a roommate and you know nothing about that roommate and they have terrible dish etiquette and now you're mad. Like, we don't want that. Our number one core value is likability. We've got to like each
Mm.
other and get along and have a good relationship because we really look to like have long-term partnerships, not just like, okay, give me your money, you're done, bye, next. Like,
Mm.
it is not about
Mm.
quantity, it's really about quality for us.
Mm. Nice. Awesome.
Mm.
Yeah, I think SEO is probably developing a lot too. Um, I mean, people are less and less going to Google and they're more going to other AI and things like that to search. And I think a lot of the listings maybe are going towards, there's apps like Neighbor and Nextdoor and
Victoria.
yeah, and I think how do you help maybe help brick and mortar businesses mostly, or do you find platforms like that are useful for getting traction in the modern SEO era where you can't just be listed in the yellow pages?
I mean, Yellow Pages still exists, by the way.
Okay.
It's just
Yeah.
online now. It's like literally, it's called YP.com. It's the
Mm.
same, but you don't have
Okay.
like a
Mhm.
giant fat book anymore.
Right.
No, but yeah, like if you have a brick and mortar location, and you want to drive people to your physical location, I mean, that
Mhm.
ultimately is the best because you're then communicating with Google. I am located at this exact area. Here's my red pin marker on the
Mhm.
map, and I want you to drive traffic within, again, typically a 2 to 4 mile radius around that. I say
Right.
2 to 4 miles because that's Google's algorithm.
Mhm.
Mind you, if you're in a major city, there's way more businesses to compete with versus when you're in a rural area, you're going to be able to expand
Mhm.
that reach more than maybe just a 2 mile radius. You can expand and maybe even rank for like other cities around that, or towns, I should say, when you're in a rural area. Never guaranteed, of course, but it makes sense. If you're around a lot of competition versus if you're rural, that's different. But yeah, if
Mhm.
you have a map pin marker and you want to drive more traffic to your physical location, like actually get some foot traffic, that's that's a really good bang for your buck. Like honestly, it's some of the highest ROI that Isaac and I have found out of like any other marketing method. And the
Well,
cool thing about it is with what we do with the local SEO, it just enhances and makes all your other marketing avenues better. For
mm,
example, like if you are spending money on ads, which is not a bad thing to do, but like if you don't look great online or you have like a crappy cover photo of the outside of your building and it's
mhm,
blurry and you
mhm,
don't have a good star rating, like a poor reputation,
right.
well, if somebody finds your ad, and most people do this, but if they find your ad, they're going to be like, "Oh, well, let me see like what other people are saying about them. Let me just check them out." And now they Google you and they're like, I'm not gonna go
Mhm,
forward with them, but you still have to pay for that stupid ad that they clicked on.
mhm,
However, let's reverse that. By working with us, you look amazing online. You
right.
have great photos, you have a great reputation, 5 stars across, like real reviews, by the way. You have your products listed, your services listed, you're doing regular Google posting. People can see in a snapshot who you are, what you do, your specials, your events, things like that. So now, reverse that. I go look at this ad. I'm like, oh, I'm going to Google them. And then they're like, this is a no brainer. I don't even need to look at this person's website. I'm picking up the
Mm,
phone and I'm calling. This is your first
mm,
impression. And it's also like there's so much you can do on Google. Just on
mm,
Google Business Profile is what it's called. That's what populates
mm,
your
yeah.
Google Maps. That people don't even need or want to go to your website anymore. Or if
Mm,
they do,
wow.
it's like, if you want to book an appointment or book a reservation for this speakeasy, click this button. It takes you directly to the right page on the website so you don't get lost, and then you just book it and you're done. It helps save people time, and people have such short attention spans when it comes to like navigating online. I mean, our scroll culture,
Mhm, right.
that like people really need to be told, like,
Mhm,
do this. This is how to do that. Like
mm,
when you go to a website, I'm sure you've been to other people's websites too, and you're like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm leaving. Or the opposite, where it's just naked and empty and there's white backgrounds, and I'm like, I don't know what they want me to do. I'm
mhm,
going to someone
right.
else. You have to be really clear on your website, like,
Mhm,
this is what I want people to do when they come to my website. Yeah.
right. I feel like Google still feeds a lot of these other search engines and social media and all, even though people might not be searching there. I feel like they've done so much with the maps and all that that they all feed off of what Google's done. Do you find
Yeah.
that a lot?
Google rules all.
Mm,
Is really what it comes down to.
okay.
And
Yeah.
it's always been like a big player. The ironic
Mm,
thing is like they're losing market share for the first time, and Bing
mm,
is starting to show up as a search engine. But the interesting thing about it is like
mm,
even across the world, Google is becoming more of a thing. We spent
mm,
3 months in Europe last year, just again for pleasure because we can, and we can work from anywhere. We still hosted webinars in America and things like that at like 3 a.m., 1 a.m. But besides the point, we were in Italy and we were at a sandwich shop, and oh my God, delicious facciata sandwich. Don't get me started. But he was like, hey, I'm really sorry I have to ask you this, but like, can you leave us a review on Google? It's just something we have to do now, I guess. He seemed so sad. And I was like, oh, this is different because like Google was never a real big thing everywhere else, like leaving
mm,
reviews, having an online reputation, ranking in Google Maps. But now it's become more and more of a thing over there, which I think
mm.
is really interesting. But
Yeah.
what is also interesting, and a good tip for those who are listening, is something you may not know, Karl, is Apple Maps sources its information from Yelp.
Hmm,
So if you've ever struggled with your own business being like, God dang it, why is Apple Maps always wrong? Go check
mm,
Yelp. If your business hours are
mm.
wrong on Apple Maps, change it on Yelp, and then it will change it
Who would
on Apple.
think?
Apple's kind of weird though. It's Google. I can actually go in and make edits. Apple Maps, you can't technically change things. You can suggest to Apple, hey, I suggest that you change my business hours. But another tip
Mm.
is if you're going to do that, make sure that your business hours are correct in other places online. Because, all these local listing platforms, they have their own brain and they all have trust issues. Let's look at it that way.
Right.
So if I'm suggesting to Apple Maps that my business hours are from 9 to 5, but everywhere else online on Facebook and Google and, TripAdvisor, it's from 7 to 4. Well, Apple's just going to reject your suggestion because it can clearly look at the rest of the internet and see that it's wrong. So correct everything, keep it as consistent as possible. Nothing is worse as a user to show up to a place that says it's open and it's freaking closed when you get to the door. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it's so annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so I wonder if you have any other tips that you might have for entrepreneurs or business owners trying to get to the next step right now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm loaded with info about Google. I could talk Google all day long.
Right.
If you're not on Google, I mean, number one, first and foremost, go Google yourself.
Mm.
Because even if you didn't put yourself on Google, guess what? Google may have put you on Google without you even
Mm.
knowing it. If you're a
Mm.
business who's existed long enough, Google will actually create its own Google business profile for you. Crazy, you didn't
Wow.
know, and you didn't know what
Mm.
kind of weird info it populated online for you. So if that does
Mm.
happen, you can actually go and claim the existing listing and then update it with the correct info.
Mm.
However, if you Google yourself and you don't find that it pops up with a Google business card, um, then what you want to do is what's the they it used to be called Google My Business. You may hear that
Okay.
sometimes. It's the
Mm.
same thing as the new term that they just changed it to, which is Google Business Profile. I think
Okay.
it's so
Mm.
silly because it's
Right.
GBP, which stands for the Great British Pound. I'm like, that one's already taken. Why did we change the acronym? It's like, besides
They
the
probably
point.
gave it one of those rainbow icons that looks like all the other rainbow icons too,
Yeah,
right?
right. Let's get original, people. GMB was fine. Google My Business. Also, it
Okay.
was cute, made sense.
Yeah.
Like people
Yeah.
Google your business. Anyways, if you don't exist on Google Maps, if you don't have a
Mm.
Google business profile, go to the website google.com/business.
Mm.
And then you can search your name, your business name, of course. If nothing pops up, it'll say, do you want to create a business profile? Yes, you
Mm.
do. Yes, you do. And then go in there and fill out as much information as possible, like right from the get go. So before you even go there and create a profile, make sure you have business photos like ready to upload. Make sure you have a description. And really make sure that
Mm.
you're taking full advantage of the full character counts that they give you. For example, the
Okay.
Google
Mm.
business description, you can write up to 750 characters, which is a decent amount
Mhm.
for a
Right.
description. Most people just put a one liner, but how does that
Mhm.
help you? How does that educate your potential prospects of who you are, what you do, why you are different? That's a big
Mm.
one because
Mm.
there are how
Yeah.
many plumbers are there in a major city? How do I choose? You want to
Mhm.
stand out, you want to be different. So fill that stuff out as much as possible, and just remember, Google crawls all text everywhere, all over the internet. So
Mhm.
be conscious or
Mhm.
conscientious, I should say, of what words you're putting out there on the internet too. Not in a
Mhm.
like, this is a bad way, this is a good way. It's more like my SEO brain is telling me to tell you this. So think about like, if
Right.
you are a
Mhm.
plumber, what do people search for online to find a plumber? Well, they
Mhm.
probably type in plumber, plumber near me, or like
Mhm.
emergency plumbing would be another great one, right? How many
Mhm.
people have had
Mhm.
emergency when it comes to plumbing? I have. um, so think about those things. So then in your description, in your Google posts, on social media, write those kinds of phrases and those
Mm.
kinds of keywords that
Yeah.
people, are calling you about for your business
Mhm.
or or typing into Google. Even ask some of your clients if you're not sure yourself, because you're too close to your business. So sometimes we need outsider perspective. So go ask
Mm.
your
Yeah.
clients, like, hey, what did you search to find me? Or what would you? Just
Right. Yeah,
get some
that's
thoughts.
good advice.
Yeah. Those would be some of my core tips.
Okay, awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome. So if someone wants to get a hold of you, where's the best place? I mean, I know I saw you on LinkedIn.
Yes, you did. You can find me on there. The best way, honestly, if you are interested in having a conversation about, like, do I feel like you're a good fit for us to help you, or vice versa, right? The
Mhm.
best thing you can do is visit our website, which is localfi, SEO.com. And there are many buttons everywhere, including the top, to schedule a free discovery call.
Nice.
Typically, it's like 30 minutes. If we have a lot to talk about, maybe 30 minutes to an hour, but we
Mhm.
always like to do preliminary research first. We'll, do ranking reports. We'll maybe even do some like preliminary keyword research. We just want to know, how are you showing up online, and are there opportunities available? Because again, we'll be
Mhm.
really upfront in letting people know, maybe it's not worth having a call with us. I don't think I can
Mhm.
help you.
Okay.
Or, I like to save people time. Or if we get on a
Mhm.
call and we talk, and I'll be honest, like, yeah, I definitely think this is great. Let me make you a proposal. We can talk about what I think is best, kind of thing. So that would be probably the number one way.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're always welcome to call us too. If you search LocalFi Scottsdale, that's where we're headquartered, Arizona. We do have
Mhm.
team
Mhm.
all over the US, honestly, all over the world, because we do encourage this wonderful thing called the LocalFi lifestyle, which it's not fair just to have your bosses like enjoy life. I want our team to enjoy life.
Nice.
So like, somebody has been able to build a new house. Somebody has been able to have a car, or build a car, not build a car, buy a new car. Maybe someone else has been able to travel to Japan for the first time and do like the whole Harry Potter experience. It's just awesome to like have your team actually have a healthier work-life balance and love what they do,
Mm.
more than just like, oh, I'm doing my job today. So
Mm.
I like to be upfront about that too. But those are two of the best ways. Contact us through our website, give us a call, and leave a message, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Okay, great. And people can get started with the course anytime if they're interested in that.
Anytime. And also that lifetime access, take it at your own pace. I would recommend like keeping a good pace with it, though, of course. Sometimes with lifetime access we're like, oh, I have it forever, I'll get to it when I get to it.
Mm.
Again,
Mhm.
2 hours or less of your time, just
Yeah.
dedicate 30 minutes a week,
Mhm.
and then you got it done in a couple of weeks, or one module per week, however you want to do it. Just
Right.
get a system built on how to get in there and do it. But it's a very user friendly platform. You click through the lessons, there's a video, there's a description, details out the homework, there's worksheets, there's templates, there's recommendations. There's even a whole lesson about how to maximize your brain power on what foods and things to drink. it's
Wow, awesome.
it's great.
That sounds fantastic. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time today, Kim, to speak with me about all this. You really shared some fantastic tips, great recommendations here today. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. I super appreciate you having this podcast. And honestly, I really think it's wonderful. Like, sharing how other people found their purpose in life is really inspiring and motivating to a lot of other people, like trying to
Mm.
figure it out, because there's a lot of people who are like, what am I doing? I was there at one point myself, so I really
Right.
appreciate what you do. And thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Well, I like to say when we walk with purpose, we collide with our destiny.
Mm. It sounds like a movie trailer that pops up on the screen. We need to get you, like, some movie trailer, like, intro music, right?
Some credits or something, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
Nice. Well,
Awesome.
thanks
Thank you,
again,
Karl.
Kim. I really appreciate it. No, cheers to an awesome new year.
Yes, cheers to an awesome year for us all.
Thanks.
Thanks.